Well, these days, when we hear the word POW, we mostly think about controversial reports out of Iraq. But long before those reports, at a time when our nation was fighting another war, World War II, POWs were a lot closer than you might think. In this morning's cover story, we take you back to a time when our enemies lived among us. St. Louis's Jefferson Barracks, the oldest established U.S. military base west of the Mississippi. Beyond its crumbling mortar and aged red bricks is a story rarely told. The year was 1944, and as Allied forces hit the beaches of Normandy on D-Day and began their sweep across Europe, thousands of German and Italian prisoners of war were captured. But where would we put them? The answer researcher and author David Fiedler would find would be right in our own backyard. In his book, The Enemy Among Us, German and Italian POWs in Missouri during World War II, Fiedler found the Defense Department put the POWs in Missouri because it was isolated from U.S. borders.
When the government first established these camps, they were scared to death of these guys getting out. But they realized that these guys, for the most part, weren't a big danger, and so they put the enemy out among us.
Other POW camps in Missouri were at Fort Leonard Wood, Camp Weingarten near St. Genevieve, Camp Crowder outside Neosho, and Camp Clark outside of Nevada.
We did treat these guys very well.
Life was good here for the former combatants. Some say too good. Many were housed in Building 37, now an Air National Guard dining hall. Only patched holes remain where bars once secured the POWs. Most days began with the same breakfast their guards were eating and a soccer game. There were theater clubs, bands, even English classes. Not every prisoner of war kept here at Jefferson Barracks was enthralled with the American way of life. In fact, some left their defiant marks behind. This Nazi swastika was etched into a wall behind Jefferson Barracks HQ, the name Belka above it. And amazingly, 2 German soldiers who died while POWs were laid to rest on a field of honor.
Right in the middle of Jefferson Barracks, you had a Nazi funeral, a swastika flag draped over the coffin, and all his comrades lined up there giving the Heil Hitler, right here in St. Louis in the middle of World War II.
Today, the German souls of Gustav Farrar and Max Sumnik, along with 4 Italian POWs buried here, are still guarded by the thousands of GIs who surround them. But there was another POW camp in our area, this one further west.
We think of history and it's far away, time and distance, but you know, one place this occurred was right there in Chesterfield, in the river bottoms.
In the very same valley, now home to fast food restaurants and stores in Chesterfield Commons, the enemy toiled.
When you drive west on Highway 40, you cross the Missouri River into St. Charles, you'd look out in those fields and you'd see German prisoners of war working.
The camp was at the old Hellwig family farm. Much of the remnants of that era washed away in the flood of '93, but pieces of weathered wood and overgrown barns still mark the spots where the enemy worked and lived. For a young Italian POW named Giuseppe Zanti, time spent in St. Louis would change his life. Now 86, Zanti came back after the war to the country and the neighborhood that was so good to him.
Beautiful, good.
As a young captured Italian submariner, Zanti found himself a POW at Jefferson Barracks. A native of Augusta, Sicily, he quickly discovered that blood was thicker than war. When distant relatives from St. Louis's Hill neighborhood would show him that though the enemy, he was still familia, family.
Having people who pack up their car with picnic baskets and drive down to the camp.
Had a lot to eat, plenty to eat.
Zanti never mastered English. He told me through former U.S. Army Italian Services interpreter Peter Paleo that he'll never forget the kindness of his captors.
The American captain, he treated him very, very well. He remembers the American captain. He treated him better than his father.
And sharing a memory, Zanti recalled a song called Mama. He and his fellow POWs often sang to ease their homesick hearts.
Mamma, mamma, perdonami.
Mamma, son tanto felice perché ritorno a te. Is a soldier reminiscing about his mother. Mamma. I'm so happy that I'm coming back home to you. Cosa mai più, mamma, ma la canzone mia più bella sei tu la stella E per la vita non ti lascio mai più.
Come si possono scordare questi buoni?
You can't forget these beautiful things.
You may wonder why German and Italian POWs were allowed to be buried alongside American servicemen at Jefferson Barracks. Well, the Geneva Convention mandated that prisoners of war be buried with full honors according to the customs of their country. And of course, at that time, that country there was Nazi Germany. You can find out more about David Fiedler's book, The Enemy Among Us, and the Missouri POW story by visiting our website at KSDK.